What's going on, everyone? You already know we back with another episode all about the data, baby. Y'all already know what it is. See, remember I told y'all sometimes we have all the hosts, sometimes we miss one, but we still be turning up and holding it down. We got another special guest in the building, Dominique.
What's up, y'all?
What's going on?
Oh, yo.
Nice to have you today.
Thank you for having me, of course.
So cool.
We'll go ahead and introduce our guest, and we'll hop into another episode of the All About the Data podcast.
Okay. So Dominique Stewart is an entrepreneur and an aspiring UX UI designer. She is a photographer and the owner of Dom Naomi Studio. She uses her artistry to capture memories that will last a lifetime. Dominique is also an active member in her community and has recently launched an initiative in partnership with her church to bring the arts and entrepreneurship to kids. With the skills that she has learned through UX UI, she's been able to take her creativity to the next level, and she's here today to share the journey with you all. Thank you so much for being on, Dominique. And you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Was there anything we missed?
No, you guys covered it all. Everything was covered.
Entrepreneur in the building, okay?
We all forgot to mention she's my dear friend, my good dear friend, Dominique.
Nice.
That's my dear friend too.
And we go to the sushi spot every few months.
Where?
The sushi. Oh, we go to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we call her.
You can come with us next time, Lucky. I don't know if you're.
Yes, I love sushi.
Okay, you can come with us next time.
When she's not in Texas.
Yeah.
See, that's just a minor detail, but we can work through that.
Yeah, when I get back from Texas, I'll slide with y'all too. But
and mine's not in Texas. Oh my
anyway, let's hop up into it. Miss Entrepreneur UIUX.
Word is born. So, what made you? I feel like I know this answer already, but what made you get into UIUX and why not graphic design?
Okay, so disclaimer: Jafar and Jamar, they've been with me on this journey, so they know most of these answers already. So if they laugh in, guys, insiders. But anyway, graphic design is not something that I really thought too much about or heard much about. What made me get into UX UI was actually so being an entrepreneur, it's hard, but it's rewarding. And in the meantime, with my business, what I've been doing is a lot of bootstrapping. So I've been paying for everything on my own, no outside investors or grants. It's just been majority bootstrapping. So I wanted to figure out a way to move from the industry that I was working in to make more money so I can support my entrepreneurial endeavors. So I was thinking, and obviously praying to God and asking him to just reveal to me what I should do. So I was scrolling on Instagram and there was an ad in partnership with my school that was advertising UX UI. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit on this. And then my sister, she came out of nowhere and she said, I think that you would really like UX UI. And then Jafar, we're talking and he mentioned it. And I was like, oh, okay, now every time is the charm. I heard you, God. So I'm gonna move in that direction. So ever since then, I've dived fully into it. My boot camp is almost like it's actually coming to an end right now. And versus graphic design, again, I wasn't too familiar with graphic design. I am familiar with it, but I wasn't really hearing about any like job opportunities or anything in terms of graphic design. But when I sat down and did the research for UX UI, it's a growing field and it's rapidly growing. And for, I'm just going to say it like Black women in tech, it's the perfect time to be a Black woman in tech because there's a lot of programs and grants and scholarships that are geared towards us. So yeah, that made me go into UX UI versus graphic design. It's not the same. They're not receiving the same love right now. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, even like with graphic design, you kind of got to up your skills a little bit more. Like it's more than just Photoshop now. They may want you to know like a little bit of HTML or CSS, so you can spice it up. And some even want you to know UI UX as well as a graphic designer. So I think that was a pretty good call, pretty good step in the direction, especially if you're a creative already.
Yeah.
But I think you're the third UX person that we had on. So we'll go clap it up for Dom Dom. Oh.
What I love about that is everybody's journey has been so different. Like everybody just has the same end goal. It just shows there's so many ways to get to the same place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You forgot to tell them how you called my phone and you were like, why the heck didn't you tell me to get into IT?
Yeah, I did go off on him. Absolutely. Because we've been friends for what? Like 3 years now? 2 years? How long has it been?
It's been like 10 years.
2018. So
18 years. You're right. It's been
about 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
Dominique, do not play with him. Don't play, you entertaining the boy. Oh my goodness.
Since Jesus was a boy. So
Amen.
I'm like, bro, tell me about this. Like, what's going on? Like, we just talking. You just see me here. You just say nothing. Until I brought it up to him. But no, he redeemed himself. He's been great helps ever since.
But I can say that I told Jafar that you should get into UX and take the Google course, and then he's like, she's already doing it. I was like the fourth silent confirmation.
Yes,
that didn't come into the revelation.
That's literally right before when you told me that. I think she had called me literally a week before or something. She was like, why didn't you tell me about IT stuff? I'm like, because you do photography.
But I want to make a point to say this though, because with UX UI, you can go and work for a company. I know a lot of people have their heart set on working for Google or Facebook or whatever the case is. But if you're an entrepreneur, the skills that you're learning in the boot camp, you can easily apply them to your business. Mm-hmm. The typography that I made on the wall, I have not done typography ever until I took my boot camp. And I'm very well versed with Photoshop. I have a little bit of skills in Illustrator, but since going through the boot camp, I've been inspired more to take on or just educate myself with the boot camp or outside of that to learn typography. And typography is something that I actually really like, and I implement it even to this day with my business. And I think about more creative and unique ways to, capture the audience, look for my ideal clientele. So UX, it transcends. It's not just for like wanting to work at Google. I mean, if that's what you want to do, cool. But if you are an entrepreneur, you can definitely take the skills that you apply in UX and apply it directly to your business. It's very transferable.
Shout out to Google.
Wait,
it's not me saying I don't want to work with y'all, but
we turn up for Google on this side.
We outside with Google. I didn't even know that typography was a thing because I've actually been like, dang, I want to put like motivational stuff around my house, but it's like I'm just gonna like print it out in Calibri text or Times New Roman. So I gotta get with you on that because that'd be dope. I would like to put like motivational stuff, or I write poetry and stuff. So
you write poetry?
My own little stuff together.
You gotta give us something. We gotta have a power hour.
Super Bowl commercial performance by Jafar.
Okay. We're not doing that today.
Interlude. Where you want to do it now?
Yeah. No. For the poetry episode.
We gonna make sure we set up an episode.
Late nights, we're all about the day.
We gonna do another Meet the Squad episode, and we just gonna have Jafar open up a poem.
This guy here, roses are red, violets are blue. We are all
terrible. Blue,
nice to meet you. But so how did your journey? Well, shoot, I mean, kind of answer that. Okay, that's fine. How did your journey start off, and how is it currently going? Even though you kind of answered the beginning part. So
how did it start off? Trying to think. I'm not gonna lie, I grasped the concept of UX UI pretty quickly. So it wasn't a rough journey at all. What I will say is that right now, I've gone to so many networking events, virtual and in person, that I feel like the journey of a UX UI designer in the beginning phases, since you have to push yourself so much to be out there and capture the attention of recruiters or other designers, or whatever the case may be. I'm already a pretty extroverted person, but it's making me be more intentional about the people that I like link up with, meet. It's giving me that extra boost of courage to message someone on LinkedIn. Listen, I send anybody a connection on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Yeah. I don't care who you are. If I could find Jeff Bezos' personal LinkedIn profile. Sir, let's connect. Does he know me? No, but it's not going to stop me. The worst that he can do is just not accept. So with this journey, it has definitely caused me to be like more bold and go after the things that I want, for sure. And I'm not worried about a yes or a no or rejection. You just keep pushing past that.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. So what? So kind of getting deeper into that. Like, I know you said you seen like an advertisement or something for the boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you jump like straight to the boot camp versus like self-study or maybe looking into other, options?
That's a great question, because Jafar did encourage me to do self-study. But at that time, how my mindset was, I wasn't thinking of like my capabilities or my abilities in that way. And I felt like I needed a boot camp for that extra push, when in actuality, you really don't. Y'all, if you could help it, really just sit down and do the self-studying, you do great courses, the Google certificate, like Jamar evangelizes for. But to pay a boot camp, anything over, I really want to say maybe $1,200. It's not, I don't think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the money to do it, then go ahead and do it. But to put yourself in debt or sign something that's like $5,000 plus, you could teach yourself. You really could teach yourself.
And this was funny because I think in retrospect, like you said, because you're going through a boot camp, most people probably weren't like doing classes online. So like when they go through the boot camp and they realize like how self-paced it is, just like how you realize it's like, oh, well, I could have just, did this myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So in retrospect, it gives people the courage to realize that they can do it.
And I do want to say there's certain boot camps out there that are immersive and they're wonderful. We're not talking about those boot camps. Those are far and few in between. Boot camps and launching boot camps is a very lucrative business right now, and you don't want to get got. People will make boot camps and charge y'all $10,000. That is literally links from Google that you could have done yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get got.
So going Udemy and snag the $10 course.
So you have to use discernment. Like if you really feel like you need a boot camp, there's nothing wrong with that. Go to one that is credited. Go to one that is reputable. And yeah, you might have to pay the $15,000 price tag, but that's the cost.
But most of them come with like one-on-one mentorships, and, job placements and things.
Those are the boot camps you pay for, not them fly-by-night boot camps.
Yeah, big facts. Big facts. Shout out to the boot camps, the real ones. And the ones that ain't real, we see you. We see what you do.
See you.
But
sound like Biden.
So at this point, do you plan to, like, once you finish your boot camp, do you plan to go snatch the Google certificate?
Yeah, I definitely want to look more into the Google certificate. And there's a guy that I follow him. I've been following him for a couple months now. His name is Xander. He's a really great UI/UX designer. He's awesome. And his UI class is only $1,200. So
only, damn, let me hold some.
No, that's not bad. Based on what you see, they're like upwards, like she said, 10, 15, 20.
But I want to say this as well, too. And the great thing about coming into the tech space, a lot of these companies want us to keep our skills fresh. They want us to keep them new. So they're giving you a stipend to pay for whatever the educational course that you want to take. So I didn't say I was going to pay for it. That's what they're going to pay for it. So that's where I'm at with it. But I would love to take his course. He's an excellent UI designer. I can't remember his last name, but his name is Xanders.
Okay.
Dominique, I seen a Jamaican gun hand coming out.
That's good though. I mean, it'll be nice to have like a certificate along with the boot camp on your resume, especially just seeing Google, and like the Google certificates are becoming, more and more popular every year. So that's good.
They're literally training people out here just to get into IT. Like,
and the whole thing is you gotta know about it. That's all. Like once you find out that it's possible, it's like, oh, you can really do anything. There's so many ways to do it for without having to pay for anything.
Let me ask you something, Lucky. You're in tech, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. How was that for you as a Black woman in tech?
So, well, to be honest, I'm actually transitioning to a more technical role as currently a technical support analyst, but I'm looking to jump into the cloud, like as far as just having that exposure. So my experience isn't, when you hear people talk about how it is in the workplace for Black women, honestly, I haven't really experienced that. It is something to think about though. I know you got to be realistic about it, but I try to think about it in a way like it's still going to work out for the better, like not going to be traumatic, just in hopes to bring that energy around. Yeah. But to be completely honest, I have not experienced a lot of what people kind of talk about. So that is really something to think about for me.
I feel you. And I share the same mindset as you, because I do believe anywhere you go, as long as your spirit is intact and you bring in good vibes and positivity, that's what you're going to attract.
Right.
So if there are like racist people in the workplace, you're not going to like internalize every single thing that they're doing because you're on a different level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We actually just did an episode yesterday where we spoke with someone who has experienced that and some of the tips that they gave. So some people experience it. I mean, I've heard men experience it too. I haven't, because ain't nobody gonna try me. But what I'm saying, it's probably, you just got to deal with it, and you could leave. Shoot, if it's a toxic work environment, leave. We ain't loyal to these jobs. We loyal to the career. We loyal to our brand. So,
but I think a lot of people don't probably, like, at the end of the day, it's how you like supply your livelihood, like your income. So they can be hesitant to speak out sometimes.
Yeah. Now look, when you in demand, you could go anywhere you want.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you go anywhere you want when you in demand. So that's why you got to always up your skills. Make yourself marketable. Make sure you're current with your skill set. And once you in demand, because remember, it's not I know social media makes it seem like everybody's trying to get into tech, but if that was truly the case, then there wouldn't be a shortage, of positions to fill. So as much as appealing as it looks on social media, everyone's not trying to get into tech. You still have people going to be lawyers and doctors and nurses and all those things. So, as long as you make yourself marketable, and then you also have to consider, and this is just something within marketing / business, is just because 1,000 people take a course doesn't mean that 1,000 people will complete it, nor actually pursue it after completing it. So, it's always the law of numbers when it comes to like anything.
And also the time it takes to transition. I think that's really something that I personally underestimated, and I'm okay with it now, but I think it takes a lot, not necessarily a lot, but it takes longer to transition than one would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you really have to go at it yourself, chip at it yourself.
I think we need to have Dominique, Fatu, Aisha, got to get all the girls together and let them talk about being Black in tech and stuff.
Yeah, I would love that. I feel like that would give a lot of good insight.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So I think that would be awesome. So
hosted by Jafar.
We will plan this. I'm just going to be passing around the mic. This is latest. It'll be ladies' night, y'all.
Ladies' night.
Dominique, where do you see the journey taking you from here?
I'm remaining open to the process, but I definitely want to secure a good job, a really good job, work there for a couple years, and while I'm building up my personal business, my photography business on the side, and yeah, that's really like my game plan for now. And that's what I see like for the next 2 to 5 years. And that's all I thought about for now, really. And I will say this as well, along the journey, which I didn't realize, which I wasn't thinking about, because I was just thinking about how I want to transition out of the industry that I was previously in. But to touch on being Black in tech again, even though I'm someone that just started, because of the way that I put myself out there on social media and LinkedIn, like to be like an encouraging person and, just pushing people to just go harder. A lot of people have reached out to me personally to just, can you review my my portfolio? And, a lot of people approach me with that have imposter syndrome. And to encourage them as a Black woman in this space, even though I'm just literally like dipping my feet in, I think that's amazing. Right. But it also goes back to how, like what Jamar just said, if everyone, it may look like so many people are in tech, but that's not the reality. Mm-hmm. And more of us are needed, because where the four of us could be very confident, there's like hundreds of other people that don't feel like they measure up at all. And that's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. Even some of the jobs, they're like, oh, 5 to 10 years worth of experience.
Yeah.
They don't actually.
Yeah, let's be realistic.
They don't actually check for that. I haven't been in one interview where he's like, oh yeah, so have you been doing this for 5 to 10 years?
I'm really trying to train my mind to just not even look at, like, that doesn't like erase that whole line.
Listen, they don't ask you for your degree. They don't ask you for no certification. All they ask is what you did, what problem you solved, how you did it, all that good stuff.
But people are so caught up with this imposter syndrome that they don't even push past, you can try to say those couple lines that will deter them from applying.
That thing could say 25 years experience. I'm still applying.
It could say PhD. I'm gonna still
still applying. Yeah.
And that's
I'm about to go apply right now.
That's stupid, man. Don't let bite check hear you, bro.
I got motivated for a second.
So you gonna get AJ go off.
Shout out to Bite Check, man. Bite Check is an awesome opportunity. Opportunity. I actually want to get AJ on here.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get him on here. So what's it called? So since like being in the boot camp, working on your portfolio and everything like that, have you been applying for jobs? Have you done any interviews yet? Like, how's that going for you?
I have been applying to jobs, and I had an interview a couple of days ago. That went really well. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the lady she didn't ask me about my boot camp. She didn't ask me about college. She just said, what did you do? How did you solve the problem? And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And what pay would I be looking for? So that is really it. So yeah. And the boot camp that I go to, they did say that they would help us find, they would help us with job placement, but get started.
yeah, you definitely, so were you confident about the interview?
Yeah. And before I have interviews anyway, I always pray for God's will to be done. So whatever will not escape me. And if it's not for me, she was still a nice woman. And she gave me the experience that I needed to have for future interviews. So that's how I look at it.
I said the same thing. Instead of like just saying one job, just like where I'm supposed to be, not necessarily what specific place, like wherever I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Got you, for sure. So like within UX and everything you're learning, what has been like some of your favorite tools that you use? I know you use Figma, like things like that. What's your favorite ones?
My favorite one to use is Figma. I love Figma. Mm-hmm. Even my LinkedIn banner, I made it on Figma. Figma is just
make me one.
Figma is extremely user-friendly.
Okay.
And it has, even for people that are really, really new, there's templates there that you can follow along, erase, and just put your information in and whatever it is design that you wanted to do. So it gives you like a starting point.
Mm-hmm. I gotta watch a tutorial on Figma, because I tried to do something on Figma. I was lost in the sauce. It just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. Maybe it was broken that day or something.
There's so many tutorials on Figma.
Yeah.
So why Figma? Have you ever used Adobe XD?
I used it once because in the bootcamp they gave us the option to build on Adobe and Figma to test it out. I feel like Adobe. Even sometimes with Photoshop, even though I'm pretty good at Photoshop now, it wasn't always like that. I feel like Adobe products, let me not even say that, because Adobe, I like y'all. So
if I say Adobe to go now, I got recruiters at
but for beginners, Adobe can be very confusing. You feel me? And it can be very intimidating to the point where you do it one time and you don't pick it back up again. So Figma is a good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And Figma is free.
It's free. Shout out to Figma. I'm gonna get somebody from Figma on here. So
Figma is free. Adobe, I believe you have to pay for a subscription. Sketch, I think you have to pay for a subscription as well. Adobe is 100%, not Adobe. Figma is 100% free.
Yeah. Shout out to Figma boys.
Figma boys.
Figma, yeah.
Word. That's what's up. So what additional skills would you say that you would need to be a successful UI UX designer other than just being able to use design tools?
Okay, so UI is interface, UX is the user experience. So what happens with a lot of these startup companies or just tech companies in general, they'll have great development, great design, but then they didn't really create a product that is user-friendly that other people, the average everyday person, could use. So if you want to be a really great UX UI designer, it's important to invest in your people skills. It's important to invest in understanding the psychology behind what attracts people, the psychology behind people's behaviors, what inspires them, what motivates them, what makes them sad, because you can apply all of this to your design. So now you're not just creating something out of thin air, but you're actually creating something that people will use. So, for example, with the UX part, we have to do, or you should be doing, interviews with potential users of the app that you're designing or the web page. If you're not a personable person, how do you think that the people that you're interviewing are going to respond to you? You know what I'm trying to say? You're not going to get the most out of that situation. So it's really important to develop your people skills.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So don't negate and don't neglect that part. We're so caught up on design, and people, what their favorite book is will be a design book, but then nobody knows how to interact with another human being.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the best books out. I put Jafar on that book a couple of years ago. Changed his life.
Did you really, sir? Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
I have that book too.
Yeah, that's a good book. I ain't gonna lie. It teaches you how to talk to strangers. You just walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, nice shoes," and then the whole conversation starts.
Actually, I literally did that yesterday.
So, yeah.
I love complimenting people. It makes them feel good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I want to compliment myself for this hoodie I got on. I look clean and white.
All right now.
But hey, so I want to ask though, like, because I know, like, because you have UI UX, and then you have people that just do UX or people that just do UI. So do you see yourself like specializing in one area, or do you see yourself being UI UX?
For now, I would like to move to. I'm okay with doing both, but eventually, I want to specialize in one.
Mm-hmm.
Either or would be fine, but as I progress more in my career, I want to figure out which one more so aligns with me. I like the research part because I like connecting with people, and I like the design part as well because I like designing. But what skill, even though I like both of them, they're both not going to hit the same. You get what I'm trying to say? There's one that I can maximize over the other to make myself the best either UX or UI person that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about creating value. This is how you're never without a job. If you want to say that for people that don't do entrepreneurship, this is how you're never without a job, by maximizing your skills and making yourself valuable in the marketplace.
Amen. Got to add your value to the marketplace. Shout out to Jim Rohn.
Love him.
Yeah, he has some good quotes.
Word. So Dominique, like alongside your skills, you said like being a good people person. How do you think one's thinking should be like going into the user experience or user interface? Because, you know, like for instance, if I'm a systems engineer and I have to fix problems a lot with servers. So a lot of it is thinking, you know, well, if this problem is occurring at this area, then I need to figure out blah, 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 you know, what's going on in these other areas and testing out things. Like what type of mindset do you think someone needs to have going into solving a UI UX problem or something like that?
the word that they beat into us when you have any video on UX UI, sign up for any boot camp is empathy. Empathy, empathy, empathy. There's a saying that we've all heard that the customer is always right.
Mm-hmm.
That is what UX is about. The customer is always right. How can we design something that will keep the customer coming back? You know what I'm trying to say? I can have a wonderful idea for an app that sells heels, but if I'm not going into the public and interviewing women, everyday women that wears heels, how am I going to be designing an app from their needs? I'm going to be designing an app from what Dominique needs. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm not just trying to sell the app to Dominique. I'm trying to sell it worldwide to women worldwide. So empathy is very important. And I don't want to get the word confused right now. I think is it divergent thinking? When you can think about multiple, you can solve a problem with multiple different ideas. I think it's divergent thinking. Let me Google it real quick.
I don't know.
I'm curious. Learn something new every day.
Oh yeah, right. Divergent thinking. It's you have the ability to think about or solve problems from multiple standpoints. So being able to always be open and flexible when it comes to your design and not so rigid, because I could be designing something, the client comes back to me with another idea. I got to change my design. Or if you're working for a company, you might think your design is so fly and fire. But if the supervisor says, yeah, change that, you have to change it. You know what I'm trying to say? So don't be so rigid in your design and build things based on empathy, based on the users. The customer is always right. We build an apps for the people. We're not building apps for ourselves. So, and also I think that would take a little smidge of humility as well too. Just a little smidge of humility.
The stakeholder come in and say, "Me not like that, man. You have to change that.
You have to change it. You can't argue with them. You have to change it.
It have to change. Yes.
You can't argue with them. You have to change it.
I'm about to take it to Jamaica, y'all.
I know you've been waiting to bring out the patois for
yeah, for the people, man, them have to know where Jamaica will come from, that represent.
Just to let you guys know, he's from New York. Keep calm.
Oh my gosh. What's that?
Let's not get too crazy.
The accent is still strong. New York is just an extension of Jamaica, and we all know this.
Exactly. You do not know about my African accent, okay?
Yeah, man, you don't know.
It's deep in here.
You got a little Jamaican accent, Lucky?
Not at all. I am from deep South, okay, Dallas, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Like, what the hell are they saying, goddamn?
I can understand it, but I definitely couldn't replicate it.
As long as she understands, that's what matters.
Yeah. Exactly. As long as you know what we're saying, girl, we up.
And see, so are there times do you intertwine photography and UI? Like do those tools that you learned in the boot camp like spill over into your photography business? Yeah.
When it comes to designing, what's the word I want to use? When it comes to branding myself as a photographer, the skills that I've learned in UX UI has definitely helped improve even how I market myself as a photographer and how I think about how can I stay true to myself, true to my designs, and also attract people at the same time? Because before, who wants to admit this? But before I was thinking about things that appeal to me, but I have to think about things that appeal to the clientele that I want to attract. So just even going through the boot camp and just embarking on this journey, it has taught me to think just more outside of myself. Before I bought this Cool to Be Kind typography poster from Shein for $5 because I thought it was so cool. And I'm like, oh, wow, how they do that? I love that. And then now that I'm coming towards the end of my boot camp, I created these 2 posters by myself. And it's really not that hard. It's just when you don't have the skills,
right?
You don't have this, you just don't know. So it definitely has helped and improved my business as an entrepreneur, period.
That's just Cool to Be Kind. I thought it was God is kind all the time. That's crazy.
Cool to Be Kind. This one is, love never fails. This one is from Corinthians.
There you go.
You can the text is small.
Can I have it? I can
Dominique, you way too nice.
Yeah.
Your
I'm
stuff.
not nice. I'm kind.
Got it.
Of that.
Cool.
Reference the poster. Word. So like, is photography like? Oh no, Jim, I'll go.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say, is the photography is that like your is that still your like side hustle? Is that like your main business right now as far as your entrepreneurship endeavors?
Right now I want to say it's my side hustle. I would love to be on here and tell you guys that's my main source of, my bread and butter, but it's not there yet. The creativity is there, the skills are there, but there's still some pieces that are missing that I'm definitely working on and working towards. There's a guy that works with Eric Thomas. His name is Jamal King, and he built his real estate empire while he was working in the police force. So there's a such thing called 9-to-5 millionaires. And with tech, how we're able to work remote and young people do you have kids, Lucky? Mm-hmm. So young people, for me, I'll speak for me then, as a young woman, and I don't have any kids at this moment, when you're making a tech salary, that's more than enough.
Right. I agree.
When you have kids, it's still like a lot.
Yeah, you're trying to still do a lot. Yeah.
But even more so for a young person in our age group that does not have kids yet, that's a lot of money to do if you have the desires to be an entrepreneur, to do something else as well.
Right.
So, and if we're working remote, you don't really have to quit your job. You feel me? Unless you're making like upwards of 500,000, $1 million in your business, you can still do both until you feel like it's time to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think with kids, you can still, I think it would just probably take you a little bit longer, but you can still do the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's the truth. Absolutely.
I'm trying to ride out with my place of employment while I'm also building this all about the data community that we got growing and everything. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one thing I actually like about the company I'm at is they support, what I'm doing with all about the data. They didn't tell me I had to stop, because some companies will tell you have to stop what you're doing,
Wow.
Yeah. Some companies will tell you. Some companies will tell you that. I've never experienced that yet, being in the workforce, but I have seen other interviews or podcasts where people talk about that.
So that has happened to you?
Well, yeah, where I mentioned it, and there was questions regarding how many hours are dedicated per week to it, and I was like, wow. Okay. I didn't know that was a thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Because they want you to be focused on just them and their brand and everything. So
no.
Yeah, it's like, what about my kids? What about
exactly?
Crazy. Ask me how many hours of dedicated.
I'm gonna run from the interview. I say, you know what? Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about some startups though. Like they don't, as long as you get in what you got to get done, and you're doing your job, and I think that's how it should be. Because we all preach multiple streams of income. You can't get it from one job, so.
Exactly.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm gonna tell you guys a story real quick.
Story time.
It relates to tech, but it's not. This didn't happen anytime. This is not recent. Years ago, when I was 18, I had this job at a retirement home, and I was a waitress there. So it wasn't a job that took so much. We're all teenagers, and then it was adults that were immigrants and stuff, very thick accent. So you could already imagine how they would treat, and a lot of us were Black and Hispanic. So you could already imagine how they were treating us, and especially the people that they felt, because they had the accent, very thick Haitian accent, that they were not intelligent. So people would work all these hours, and then they would come in, we're going to cut hours. Like it's nothing. People are in the bathroom crying, and this is older women, older men in the bathroom crying and da-da-da-da-da. So me as a 18-year-old, I'm just, observing all this because I wasn't working there. Oh, I'm 18. So I'm not working there, make ends meet like them. I'm just working there, pay my little car note, help my mom out or whatever. But these people were hard down, crying and stressed out. That was strike one for me. Now it's a Christmas party. And at the end of the year, all of the old folks, they gather and make a pool for just the money that they want to give out to all the staff that's working there. Now, this is independent of the company itself. This is something that the old people gather together, elderly people gather together, and they do. Because the director of the facility was she was literally ego tripping on a power trip if I've ever seen one in my life. She came during the Christmas party where they dispersed the checks, and the Christmas party is 2 weeks before Christmas. And she got on the mic while everyone is anticipating getting their check. Everyone is excited about what's to come because the Christmas party is held every year, so you can get your check and mingle with everyone. She got on a mic in a room full of other adults that she knows needed the money. And she told them, if you take this check, you're going to get fired.
Huh?
No. I looked around, I was like 18, and I was so shocked. I was like, I said, y'all just gonna, I was like, wow. Like I literally walked out, like I started crying. And it wasn't because I felt sized by her, because I'm going to take my check and I will not come back here. That's all that it is.
Very fast. But
I was crying because it was people that was like that could be my mom age, like close to my grandma age that's working there. And this is how they treat people. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about adding value to yourself, building up your skill set, not being afraid to networking, this trend of imposter syndrome, forget about that. That has nothing to do with you. You have to fight with all your life, all the power and strength that you can muster up, all the power and strength that you pray to God and ask for to really make something of yourself, because people are not playing fair. Mm-hmm. They're not playing fair. Those people stayed there while this lady told them, and she's the director, so she got money, making at least $80,000, while you guys are making minimum wage, living below the poverty line. That's what she told that. That's what she said to people that had to buy Christmas gifts for their kids. And throughout my life, it's been different instances of like workplace abuse that I've witnessed with my own eyes, and people subject themselves to it constantly because they don't feel like there's better out there. They don't know the opportunities that is presented and what they're able to take advantage of. And I see that mostly in the Black community. So for us, or for you guys here to be having this podcast to really shed a light as young people of color, young Black people,
I am young.
Really great. No, this is really great, because people need to know that there's greater opportunities available to them versus what you've been presented with. Sometimes you really have to go the extra mile, especially if knowing your family has done it. If you're the first, if people in your family used to make a minimum wage, you really have to go down the path that is least traveled by everyone and make a name for yourself in whatever industry that you're trying to break into. And tech, I'm not going to say that it's easy, but it is one of the easiest to break into, because you don't necessarily have to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in college debt, student loans to do it. Mm-hmm. Go get a Google certificate, go get a little subscription to Udemy and get it popping. Like, you don't have to wait around for anything or anyone. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. As Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
No, big facts. That's one thing that we stand on with, all about the data. And that's why even with the podcast, I made it as inclusive as possible. It's Black owned, but it also has women of color on it as well. So, to show that, greatness is on both sides, even though, sometimes it just be just the men, or sometimes it just be me and one of the women, but we getting there. We gonna get there versus all four of us. But other than that, all about the data definitely stands on those principles, beyond just this, because of course my background is always been about our people for a while. So, but this is my last question to you, Dom. It's a big one, so don't get nervous. I see you sweating over there a little bit.
You watch the episode, you know that.
You might just, yeah. So the question is: in your past life, were you an activist?
Existential question.
What you mean past life?
Were you an activist?
What you mean past life?
You sound like you was an activist like in the 80s or something.
I'm done. I don't believe in that. So, sir, I am who God called me to be.
I just had to make that joke.
I'm done.
Buddy, man.
I'm done. No, but I am for the people, absolutely. And I hate.
Facts.
I don't hate many things, but one thing that I do hate to see injustices. And I hate another thing that I do hate. I hate two things actually. I hate people with low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I don't stand for it. I don't support it. And if there's any way that I can support you through not to thinking of yourself higher, that is what I would love to do. So yeah, that's why I talk with so much passion and conviction, because those are two things. It stems from things that I hate.
Yeah.
I really don't like those.
Well, you did a good job on today's episode by expressing that. So we hope that, somebody out there is motivated by this week's episode.
Oh, I want to say something too. I want to say one more thing. So because I said, I don't want anyone to get it confused. Because I hate something which I consider to be an injustice, it doesn't mean my responses are because of hate or anger. It's fueled by love and compassion and empathy on my fellow man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to see people, whether you're Black, white, or whatever, in positions in the workplace where you're subjecting yourself to abuse, anything less than, you know what I'm trying to say? Because you're afraid to step out and try something new. That's nonsense. There's people that, not even in the tech industry, people that can sing, that can write, that can do all these amazing things, but because they don't believe in themselves, they subject themselves to lower. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You hate that they do that. You don't hate the individual.
Yeah, I don't know. Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, big facts. It's all good. We got to put stuff like that out there and build people confidence up. So, but we just gonna shout out our tech titan of the episode as we get ready to close it out. This week's tech titan is actually going to be AJ Young. AJ Young is actually the CEO and founder of ByteCheck, which is a cybersecurity B2B SaaS company. ByteCheck is also my place of employment. So, I got to represent it for this episode since my dog is the tech titan.
Nice.
Make sure y'all
support for him.
Yeah, make sure y'all support AJ though. Make sure y'all link up with him on LinkedIn, Twitter. Check out bytecheck.com. And AJ, just keep inspiring the culture, man. Keep inspiring the people. With everything you're doing. So we also want to just appreciate you, Dom, for coming on to the podcast and talking about your journey, being brave to talk about your journey. And, it's good that people can see you before you get the job. So, maybe once you get the job, you can do like another small segment. Like she did it, you guys. And we just celebrate with you.
The way you were talking, I felt like you already had the daggone job.
I got the job. It's just a matter of...
I've never seen such confidence.
Yeah.
I already got the job. You feel me? It's just a matter of time.
I love it.
So, once you get that, we'll do a short segment, to come on and just talk about, how you got it and everything. So, but other than that, make sure y'all subscribe.
On the camera when I get the job. Play some Howard Fast 954 music when I get this job.
Yeah, got to bring them back to the old school. But make sure if you tune into the podcast, make sure you subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. Make sure y'all join Discord and all the events we got coming up, all the products and everything we releasing. Y'all already know what time it is. Dominique, before you go, any last words you want to say to the people?
Keep pushing and striving for greater things, and don't ever look down on yourself, because God has so much more in store for you. It's just about what you believe and what you say to yourself on a day-to-day basis. Wonderful job, guys. Thank you so much for having me, and keep doing a great work in the community.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all ready? 3, 2, 1. All about the data, baby.
Oh, wait, what?
Wait, do it again.
Start over. Okay, I'm ready.
Are we gonna do it again? Ready?
Jamaican gun pose.
Come on.
What is it?
All right.
All about the data, baby.
Keys. And then do